Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our experiment, the 100-Person Project. I am Bill Carell, and this is my investigation. Simple questions for 100 people. This is a research project to gather data from 100 beautiful human beings for the sole purpose to see what actually happens across the interviews. Now, the questions are going to be fixed, and they're all going to be the same interview, except for, who's answering the questions. It's as if I'm having you, Rosemary, come sit on my porch with me and share your ideas so I can learn about you. Although we are not sure, and I do have a team of people, there's thousands of us over here working on this project. We're not quite sure what, if anything, we're going to discover at the end of it, but we're very interested in the people, the process, and your particular story. So with that said, let's just go ahead and dive in.
Okay.
What is your full name?
Rosemary King.
Okay. What is your favorite nickname that most people don't know you have?
I actually don't have one anymore. I used to. It wasn't even my favorite name. I only did it because when I was a kid, my name was Rosemary Vanderhorst. And when you put that on the line for your school papers, it doesn't quite fit. It would just go like all over the side. And it annoyed me so much that by 6th grade, I shortened it to Rosie. So it's just 4 letters, R-O-S-I. And then it fit. So by the time I graduated high school and I started having kids, I was like, that felt like a really kid name. And I needed something a little bit more grown up. So I went back to my full name.
Rosie is a very great name. Rosie the Riveter, Rosie the robot on the Jetsons.
But when you have kids and they're watching Caillou, Rosie is kind of like annoying. So I think that was kind of like part of the reason why I was like, I don't want to.
And what grade were you in when you changed it back again?
It was after high school.
After high school.
So I was like in my early 20s, like 21 maybe. Time
to get serious around here.
Yeah.
Let's put on our adult persona. So when did you first notice what color hair you had?
I always knew it was black because everyone always commented how black it was, like how dark it was, because it was the same color as my dad's. But in 5th grade, we did like comparison of who had the darkest hair in our classroom. And it was sort of like this math thing that we were doing. And so when I went up there, I'm like, oh, I have the darkest hair because it's black. But when my classmates were like, no, it's kind of black with this red tint, I was like, I've never noticed that before. So it really like, okay. And now it's almost brown instead of the color it was back then. So
that's interesting. That happens to all of us, but it doesn't necessarily go from reddish black to brown. I can attest. And this wasn't always this color too. I used to have some red in my beard when it was brown.
Yeah, there's a lot of my mom's side of the family is Irish, so there's a lot of like red hair in that family. Sure. And so it just sort of came through. And I know my dad was also a redhead, but his hair turned dark as he got older. It got darker. And so yeah.
So what is your favorite thing to do to intentionally waste time?
There's a game there's an app, I guess. It's called Mystery Manor, and I got sucked into it during COVID. And so anytime I'm like, I really don't want to do anything, I don't want to watch anything, I'll play this game.
And what's the point of the game?
It's just finding hidden objects, and it's almost like it's got like a Candy Crush version of like a sea, but it's like sea creatures and stuff instead of candy. So it's finding hidden objects and then like this Candy Crush thing.
So say that game again.
Mystery Manor.
Mystery Manor. I'm familiar with that.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've never played it, but I've seen lots of ads. As a matter of fact, ads that you can watch to get more points in the game that you're playing, so you can continue and not have to pay money. These are really great games, aren't they? So, what is your favorite movie to watch alone, Rosemary?
Probably anything from like the late 80s to early 90s, like Beaches or, something like that. I enjoy, well, I guess maybe any part of the 90s. Like Clueless. I know they're kind of stupid, but it's just like good entertainment. It's just something to watch for when you have nothing else to do. And so it's not like I don't have to be invested in the movie.
Right.
I can passively watch it and still enjoy it.
Sure. And
So,
also,
and I love Legally Blonde and Sweet Home Alabama and things like that. So
good.
just feel good movies.
Sure. And they always turn out, don't they?
They always do.
They always turn out. I always wondered whether or not they were able to save Pismo Beach.
Oh.
Have you ever been to Pismo Beach?
I haven't.
I have. You can blink while you're driving through. I spent the night there back in the 1980s at on a cliff motel. I mean,
Okay.
literally 25 feet past the edge of where our little deck was straight down about 75 feet to the Pacific Ocean. It was absolutely gorgeous. I recommend that version of Pismo Beach. Who knows what it looks like today? So, if you were to have an action figure made of you, what superpower would it have and what colors would its uniforms be?
I don't know about a superpower because this was one of the questions I said, oh man, some of these questions are like really hard. I can't figure out what a good superpower would be because they all have their downsides. So, but if it has to have a uniform, I would prefer something with like a turquoise gold color, but no idea on the superhero.
All right. Do you know that game 3, 2, 1, choose?
No.
Okay. The kids play that.
Okay.
And it's where you don't know, but they go 3, 2, 1, choose, and you say,
I have no idea. That's the thing. I overanalyze so much stuff that there's nothing that comes to mind that I would want to attach it to. I have no idea.
So let's dive into this for a moment, because it could be that your superpower is just plain being clueless sometimes.
There you go.
I mean, is that so wrong? I don't think so.
Yeah. So
isn't it fun not being attached to any particular outcome?
Yeah.
Mom of 6, you kind of are playing, that part of on the fence almost all day long, right?
Yeah. There's a lot of having to deal with all those situations that come with being a parent. And
good listener, wisdom of Solomon, all that kind of stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure. And coming from a large family myself, being the eldest of 6 kids, I think I have an idea of what that might be like for your children. So, what did you want to be when you grew up when you were 5 years old?
I wanted to be a doctor because they were rich.
Doctor, and you were only in it for the money.
Yeah. Okay. But as time went on, I eventually wanted to be like a psychiatrist. In high school, I wanted to work with veterans with PTSD. But when I got into college, I decided I wanted to do criminology instead because I wanted to find out why criminals were the way they were and how to fix that. Like at what stage or what age could you figure out, okay, once they get past this point, there's very little return. Like they're pretty much on that path. Or is there like something else that you could like that triggers that moment from where they're not going to do that or they are going to do that? And based on my observation of looking at like not just my kids, but like family members and friends and those that end up being kind of delinquent. I've
Mhm.
noticed that past puberty, like after they've gotten to that point, if they're already on that path without any correction, um, they're more likely to stay down that path than revert back to something a little bit more normal.
It's interesting. Did you take psychology in college?
I have my bachelor degree in psychology,
Sure.
but I don't have like a master's or anything.
Right.
It's so expensive and time consuming because I finished my degree back in 2014. So
Okay.
I took a 10-year hiatus. I went to college 98, 99, my freshman year, got married, had kids, took 10 years off, and went back when Caden was like 4 months old. So I spent like 4 years finishing up 3 years of my degree. And
That is
then after
awesome.
that, I was like, I'm done with school for a while. But I'm still learning. I'm still taking certifications and stuff like that. So I'm not learning. It's just that I'm not in like a master's degree program.
Sure. And so what were your favorite courses?
In college,
Yeah.
my law classes, like I loved writing up the briefs and everything, and I was really good at it. My professor was he was a defense lawyer for the state of Florida.
Yep.
And he said I had a lot of potential if I ever wanted to be a lawyer because he saw that right out the gate. And I was the one, even though I was a freshman, I was the one that was tutoring like the upperclassmen in my classes. So.
Did you do any debating?
No, most of it was all written stuff, but I still enjoyed, digging in and finding the cases and sticking it to like, I've got the right answer. And
I would think having all those children probably enhanced those
yeah, those
skills
negotiation skills.
and gathering all the facts, and
Mhm.
definitely so. So what is your greatest accomplishment, Rosemary?
I don't think I've accomplished it yet.
Interesting.
I mean, you can say having kids, but how many other people have kids? Like billions of other people have kids. So while it's an accomplishment, I don't think it's like my greatest accomplishment. And I wouldn't know what that looks like until after it happens, but I don't think I've gotten it. I don't think I've done it yet. And maybe it's a cumulation of things that I've done that turns into something bigger at the end. And I just haven't seen it come into fruition yet.
Interesting. So if you were to just take a moment and thoughtfully consider up until this point in your life, recognizing that your real big deal is coming in the future, looking backwards from where you are right now, what would you say you're kind of proud of and you think that was pretty good?
Probably my kids.
Well, how about your degree?
My degree, yeah. I think that took a lot of that was I mean, it wasn't hard, like the studying wasn't hard, but like the stuff surrounding, like all the noise around just to complete it was.
Yeah, especially while you got to keep a household going, where you probably were doing something to make money during that period of time too.
Oh no, I wasn't working. I was doing maybe 40 hours of volunteer work with the scouts because the
Right.
kids were younger, right? Caden was just an infant, and then David was like 9 when I went back, almost 9 when I went back to school. So they were still really young. And yeah.
Well, though you were not getting paid, you were still engaged,
Mm-hmm.
and you had a lot on your plate, and I'm sure it was stuff that you thought about a lot and put your best foot forward. I think you've always done the best that you can. That's kind
Oh
of my
yes.
suspicion. Yeah. Good for you. So it seems like you have, a lot of greatest accomplishments.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to make a point here. So
Yeah.
help me make me right. So who is your favorite person to listen to?
um, right now, um, I'm listening to audiobooks by Louise Hay.
By whom?
Louise Hay. Louise Hay.
Oh, Louise Hay. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm listening a bunch of little audiobooks from her. And it's just really nice because she's got like a really soothing voice. And I enjoy being able to like have her like aha moments while I'm listening because it's really good driving noise, I guess. Because I don't like really listening to music, and I don't like the commercials, so audiobooks.
Good for you. Some of it is seeping in. You can't sleep on top of a regular printed book and get it through osmosis. But if you just put an audio book on in the background and go about your daily routine, you will pick that up.
Mm-hmm.
So please complete this sentence for me, Rosemary. When I grow up, I'd like to.
When I grow up, I'd like to leave a legacy of love for the people that I've impacted over the years.
Interesting. So say some more, please.
Well, like I was saying earlier, with regards to wanting to study criminals, I think there's a lot of individuals that are just, I don't want to say mean, they're just unkind to each other. Like I've noticed over the years, especially since social media came around, it's just like everywhere. And the amount of like judgment and critical like garbage coming out of people's mouths is just like with this Russian skater. She's 15 years old and all you hear is about how she's a horrible person and karma's going to get to her and how happy they are to see her fail because she like fell on the ice and everything. And I'm like, that's terrible. That's awful. Like, why would you say something like that? I mean, even if she's not American, even if she is Russian, like you don't have to be so mean to other people. And so I would like to be able to make sure that when I interact with others, I'm not, I know it's not going to always be possible. You're going to get angry. You're going to have those moments of when you're going to release those people who are toxic in your life and some words are going to be exchanged. But overall, I hope that my legacy is that I've impacted more people with love than I have with unlove or hate or unkindness or whatever you want to put in there.
Overall general badness, right?
Yeah. I just want
bad attitude. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. What is the most important thing to you right now?
My family. Just trying to make sure I'm there for them as much as I can be, trying to get my business off the ground because it still is, quite new. And meeting all of their obligations as much as I can and making sure I'm there for them as often as they need me to be.
That seems pretty much like 24/7.
Yeah.
Good for you. So you started on this earlier, but I'm going to ask the question again anyway. What would you like to leave in the world after your life is done, other than a legacy of love and not badness?
I'm not sure. I've got nothing. My brain's just empty right now.
Okay. So we'll move on to the next
because
one.
like the chatter in my head just doesn't want to shut up. But right now it's just.
It's all good. The neat thing about these interviews is that even people who've had an opportunity to look at the questions in advance are still going through an inquiry while we're doing the interview. And in many cases, I can actually see, the wheels turning above. And there's no right answer to these questions. And you're actually not linked to them for the rest of your born days. Although there may be people that you run into if they happen to see this podcast. Might ask you about a thing or two. You may get known for something. You never can tell. You could be the psychological woman who solves mysteries and keeps criminals from growing into criminals before they turn 8. All of those things. So, when you go to a bakery, if it's a good baker and you buy a dozen rolls, what do you get in the bag? You get
What am I getting? What am I buying from a baker?
When you buy a dozen rolls from a baker, don't they usually toss another one in just for good measure because it's a baker's dozen?
Yeah.
Okay. So I got a 13th question as well. And this question is, what is the thing that most people misunderstand about you, Rosemary?
A lot of people think I'm meek, that I'm really shy and I'm submissive. And that's because I am very quiet when I meet new people.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really show my full self. I won't say true self because I think I am reserved, but I won't show my full self until I've gotten to know them a little bit better.
Sure.
Because over the years, there's been situations in my life where I just have been around some very toxic people, and I'm very guarded about who I allow into my space. So I'm more of an observant type person, right out the gate. But once I start getting to know others and I'm warming up to them and we've had conversations and, there's a connection there, then, my full personality will bloom out, I guess you could say. But I've gotten that a lot. I know when they did the interview with the Navy wives for my episode on What Not to Wear, that was one of the things that one of the interviewees had said. You'd think she's meek, but she's not. So
good for you. So I'm going to ask you another question, but would you do me a favor just for a moment? Could you take your glasses off just for a minute or two?
Can't see you now. I mean, I can see you, but you're like really fuzzy.
Trust me, it's better that I see you than you see me at this point. I was just kind of curious, what your face would look like without the glasses on. And it's actually a very nice face.
I've been told I need to get rid of the glasses, but I don't like touching my eye. And there's no way I would ever do like LASIK because that like thinking about it makes me sick to my stomach.
Yeah. Well, if you're not too uncomfortable, I'd like to ask you the next question, which is we're almost done here. And
Okay.
It's your choice whether you'd like to put your glasses back on or not. It's totally up to you. Okay. All right, good. And with a big grin too. I like that. All right. So do you have any questions of me, Rosemary?
No, I didn't come prepared to ask you questions. So
sometimes life isn't in the preparation, life's in the moment.
No, not at this time.
Okay. All right, good. Any other statements or anything you'd like to say about the questions, the process, how this went for you?
This is kind of fun.
Yeah. It looked like you were having fun.
Yeah.
And in the moment, I don't hear a lot of people clamoring for your attention other than me.
Oh, I'm in a box. It's called a phone booth. So I'm at Foundry 66 down in Norwich. And so I'm in this enclosed space.
Oh, nice.
So I'm not bugging anybody with this interview, so they can't hear it and they can't hear me talking.
Good for you. Well, I would like to thank you very much for your contribution to this little experiment. I'm very interested in hearing what everyone has to say. And I really have this suspicion that the more different we think we are, the more we have in common. And the uniqueness comes from our experiences and what we've done with those experiences. And yet, I think all of us share language. We share, dreams and goals and all that sort of thing. And thank you for being willing to put your hat in the ring for this interview. And it's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Well, in the meantime, you have a wonderful rest of the day and the week. And I thank you again, and I'll be seeing you very soon.
Okay.
And thank you all at home for listening. Bye for now.
You've been listening to Simple Questions for 100 People, part of the Exvadio Podcast Network. You can find every episode at exvadio.com/podcasts, the Apple Podcast app, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and wherever you find podcasts.